I mean, it's not like I don't enjoy other people's social media because I also like messy stuff.
This has been a very messy time on social media. Just everybody is attacking everybody. I guess that's all times on Twitter. It's just the complete fucking Thunderdome. I even in like left Twitter, places where you think people would get along and they have similar values. I know people think, oh, left Twitter, everybody gets along, they have similar values. If you've ever seen that picture of the little skeleton with the machine gun shooting Bambi's mother, and leftists, and they're all laying there in violence. That's literally like the Twitter left. Is kind of absurd sometimes. We'll find the smallest differences and we'll go to war with each other over it.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. You know, I'm like, y'all need to read Malcolm X, though. Like, it's never the people who've actually read Malcolm X.
Malcolm X was actually my first political theory book.
That's a good place to start, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, it took me way too long to like hear about diversity of tactics as like a concept.
Yeah.
Christine, what was one of your first political theory books?
Well, hi everyone. I feel like I'm just jumping in.
You're in the club now. Don't worry about it.
I'm in it. Oh, my first political theory book. So,
or just book about politics, because I don't.
How did you get into it? Really, I think that's the bigger question.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. My first book about politics. I'm gonna go with The Outsiders, and you're like, that's not a book about politics. Of course, it is.
It is a book about politics.
And it's all about politics, right? No, I just say that because that was my favorite book growing up. How did I get into politics? I tell everyone I didn't get political until it got personal. When I look at my son, in 2016, my son was 2 years old, and I'm sorry, my son was 1.5. And I looked at him, I looked at the election, and I said, this can't happen. I cannot let my son grow up in this world. I need to get involved. I need to take action. I need to do something. And now I have 2 boys.
So you did something.
Years.
Yeah.
But I started doing videos, Facebook videos, and just commenting, just like we're doing now. I would comment on the current events, and people would say, Christine, you really have a voice. You should run for something. And then I would put more videos out. And then they said, okay, Christine, at this point, you're just talking. When are you going to start doing? And I said, man, you're right. I'm throwing my name in. That's so funny. How it began.
That's so funny because with Rachel, I mean, it started the exact opposite. Rachel was like, I should really run for office. I'm going to start posting. And the more that she was posting, the more people were like, Rachel, we've seen you and we've heard you, and you should absolutely not hold political office. And she was like, okay.
Oh man, it's sort of that. It's mostly, I think, just that
politics bad.
It's bad.
I have really complicated. I grew up in politics. Like I was raised by activists. Like I literally lived down the street from one of the writers on the Freedom Bus. Like just like deeply politically involved since I was 2, basically. And like the longer I have stared at this machine, I guess the more concerned I have been about like how to sort of fundamentally change the base of it.
Yeah.
And at this point, like my politics are so wildly radical that I'm pretty sure I'm inelectable anyway. Because I'm like, the Constitution maybe should be rewritten just a little bit. And it's like, you can't say that. So I'm kind of rewriting the entire Constitution, which I know would be an incredibly popular platform position for you.
Well, Well, here's the thing. Trump's working on rewriting the Constitution.
That's
He's
true.
just he's doing a bunch of stuff that nobody likes and everybody hates. And they're like, yeah, we should just let Trump do that.
Yeah,
It's
maybe
fine.
it is on the table.
Listen, yesterday I was out putting up door hangers. I mean, I literally go to hundreds of houses a day. Yesterday, I got into a long discussion with a Trumpster, and he said, "Well, I voted for Hillary last time, but I'm voting for Trump now." I said, "Okay, why are you voting for Trump?" He said, "Oh, because Trump's a doer." I said,
Doing what?
I'm sorry. What is he doing for you?" I'm like, you must be delusional, right? Then, of course, he brings up abortion and homosexuality, which for me,
Oh,
I tell people all the time, when it comes to abortion and homosexuality, if those are the reasons that you're voting to control other people's lives. Like that is really what you're voting for. So you want to have control over people that have nothing to do with you. I'm asking you what Trump has done for you. And the answer you want to give me is what he can do for other people, like against other people. I said, that's very twisted. And right now in America, we should be looking out for one another, not looking to control or stop or insert our own personal beliefs into everyone else's minds. Like that's not what we should be doing. We need to uplift each other. So anyway, it was this long drawn out discussion, and he's like, "We're just gonna have to agree to disagree." No, I don't agree to disagree. There's no agreement on that. Your thoughts are obviously narrow-minded, but it's beyond conservative. It's controlling, and it's not loving. It's not compassionate. Don't talk to me about Christianity because I'm a Christian. So don't talk to me about that because you're not showing any love. Right now, you want to force women to do things and that you have no business for forcing anyone to do. Number one. And number two, you're upset that two men can get married. What's it matter to you? You're not sleeping with anybody. Like, that's not your business. So, like, and that's just, let me go back to I'm running for Congress. I can't get to hood, but
Yes, you
that's your
can.
business.
You're in the
Mind
right place.
your business. Mind your business.
Yeah.
So anyway, yes.
Yeah.
You're in Miami area. Like you're not actually Miami, but it's like right close to there. It's like a short drive.
Yes.
Florida 24
Mm-hmm.
is just like the tiny tip, like at the bottom of Florida for people who don't know. What cities are like involved in there? And because Florida is kind of America's number one swing state, what are the politics of that individual district? Are they?
So this is a really heavily Democratic district. And I would say also progressive, but a lot of the electorate, they're moderate Democrats, but a lot of just the people in the district, they're progressives. The reason why I don't really say, the electorate, the progressives are not voting like they need to, right? Because they feel as if their voices are not being heard. But what I tell them, you've got to keep going, keep trying, because our voices will be heard. But yes, we're highly democratic.
Do you find like, because me and Rachel are in Atlanta, and it's like a heavily democratic district, but it's also small c conservative politically.
Yes.
Do you find that there's like an age gap in like what policies people feel like they need in order to have a sustainable future?
Yes, of course. The minute I start talking Social Security, yeah, I see the age gap. No one that's 18 or 19 cares about Social Security. But yes, absolutely. And a lot of when I talk about Medicare for all, that is the only policy that I see that across the board everyone's on board with. Like, okay, yeah, we need insurance. If I'm talking to someone that's 20, you're right, I need insurance. Talking to someone that's 85, you're right, I need insurance. But if I start talking about police reform, I mean, we've got our moderate Democrats that are just like, oh, but these kids out here, they're doing all kinds of things. And then the young kids are like, defund the police. So certain issues, I do see that there's a divide.
I think that kind of ties back into what you were saying a minute ago about it being control based too.
Yeah.
people who believe in the police believe in control. And I think there is a generational difference there, like Brandon was saying as well. You know, as we have gotten further along, younger generations have become less comfortable with that kind of control.
Yes.
I also think it's also just a difference in how people experience violence. Like there was more violence in the late 80s, early 90s. And I think just technological changes have kind of changed like the average person. Like a lot of this stuff is quality of life prosecution. It's like people minding their own business and getting rolled up on. So if that is your interaction with your primary interaction with the police is they are hassling you while you're literally minding your own business in life, you tend to have a more salty attitude about the institutions that, again, like especially in major metropolitan areas, it's a huge chunk of the budget that's going to people that don't even live there and live in a different city and are getting paid to come in here and hassle you in your town. So
exactly.
Like
the incumbent that I'm running against, she has brought $6 million into the district to hire officers. $6 million. When I think of what that 6 million could do, when I look at the basketball courts, because one of the tactics is let's take the hoops off the basketball courts. You know, yeah, because then people would stop congregating and then there wouldn't be fights and we would, you know,
that's so
literally
racist.
terrible.
That's so racist.
Terrible.
It's so
it is.
obviously racist. Like
Well,
terrible. It's
and
terrible. So
not only as somebody who's from West Atlanta and had that kind of similar situation, what we had was they would only have the hoop up. They had like a tennis court that was there for years and kids wanted to play tennis and they never made like the net and got it up there. But as somebody who did play like on a neighborhood basketball court, like as a kid, it's just something that you can do outside where you're not having to spend money on it. Like you can literally go to and you know, like two people in your neighborhood that have a ball. And you know, depending on your age, you have that kid will take their ball and literally leave when they're losing. But anyway, but it's like a way for you to, it's something that like prevents bullshit because you are just in a situation where you are talking to people and you have like an activity that you can do, especially because when are people playing basketball in the summer, which is technically crime season anyway.
yes.
Yeah. That's messed up.
Also, like, I mean, that was for me, that was an important way to meet my neighbors at different points in life. And I wasn't even good at athletic stuff or anything, but I'd show up just to like meet people and like, you know, get to know who lives in my neighborhood. When you take away those opportunities from people, it distances people from each other, which I think leads a lot of times to like more conservative, like controlling, paranoid BS because you don't know who your neighbors are.
Exactly.
Our semi-regular co-host Leslie, she wanted to pop in and say, how do you feel about your governor opening up the state yesterday? Florida's just been a complete disaster with coronavirus. So how have y'all been coping or not coping down there?
So this is my biggest issue right now is preparation and prevention. We are rushing to get back to normal, right? Okay, let's open everything up. What have we done to prepare Floridians to go back to normal life? First of all, nothing can be normal again. Right now, teachers are about to walk out. Teachers are going to resign because we have had ample time to prepare our schools for the kids to go back, and they're not ready. Nothing is socially distanced. They don't have their plexiglasses set up. So, you know, we're trying to rush everything. But instead of forcing everyone to say, oh, life is good, let's go back to normal, why didn't we prepare? Why didn't we prepare? Let me tell you something. Governor DeSantis, this is going to, he's lucky that he makes it to the end of his term. We are going to fight tooth and nail to make sure that he does not come back. He does not serve a second term. He has mishandled this thing from day one because he's been trying to please Donald Trump. And he did not want to show that Trump was doing such a horrible job with this in the first place. Do you know how many people are unemployed in this state? Do you know how many people have closed down their businesses in this state? And yet you want to just go back to normal? Nothing is normal. People are going to be losing their homes. When we talk about COVID, we need to talk about what what people have been experiencing and what are they prepared to face tomorrow when things open up. Everyone, all those bill collectors, they never stopped asking for their money, even though the residents stopped getting money because they didn't have a job. So now we've got people that are going to lose their car because of they couldn't pay their car note. We have people that have lost their health insurance, and you want to just open back up. Where's the plan? Where's the preparation? You're just throwing us out into the wild. We're going to have, I'm telling you right now, we're going to have another wave. And I don't want to say second wave because I think that the
We're
second
on
wave was
like
really
wave
the first
number
wave.
4
And
right
then it was
now.
like, like,
Yeah.
another wave.
Yeah.
And it's going to be worse because this thing keeps mutating. It turns into something worse every single time. So nonetheless, I am disappointed in this state. But then again, should I really be surprised?
I'm in a state. I'm in Georgia. So like we're in two peas in a pod because our governor, we call him the COVIDiot. He did not know that this could be spread through the air until like 2 or 3 months after everybody else in the world knew. And he was on TV like, wow, I didn't even know it spread like that. And just like your governor, he's been spending every action that he's been taking has been all about pleasing Trump, to the point that even Trump doesn't sign on with stuff that he does because he does so much and embarrasses. And Trump is somebody who is always looking at the poll numbers, and Kemp is the least popular governor in America, and your governor is right behind him. Just as two people who have just over and over again like put people in danger. What is the situation with schools like? Have your local authorities like stood up to the governor at all in terms of opening schools and keeping things closed or keeping things safe? What's going on?
I want to commend the teachers union, both Miami-Dade and Broward County. They got up on a mic and they said, how dare you try to put our lives in danger when you have had ample time to prepare us to reopen. The classes are still at capacity. The like I said, the plexiglasses are not set up. They don't have the hand sanitizer dispensers set up. It's literally like going back to school as normal. Our teachers are nervous, and I fully support them in whatever they're going to do. I know that with my child, my children were enrolled in school. They go to private school only because we're Christian, so it's important for my kids to have that upbringing. But their school would not do a homeschool program because the state funded program refused to fund the kids with at-home learning. They said that they would withdraw the grant if they did not keep the kids in school. And I said, and this was 2 months ago. I said, absolutely not. I'm withdrawing my kids. I'll homeschool them. And now I'm re-enrolling them back because the numbers have dropped drastically. I'm re-enrolling them, but I almost lost all of the funding because I refused to send them in person. And that's not fair. We're treating it almost as if the parents are crazy, or they're going to be safe. Prove to us that our children are safe. Prove to us. Show us what you have set up in your school that will keep our children and our teachers safe. They can't do it.
Another thing really worth mentioning when we talk about schools in particular is that in most states, public teachers are de facto banned from organizing. Actually, in Georgia specifically, they are explicitly banned from organizing. So the teachers themselves have absolutely no power here. If they try to organize against this, if they try to do some kind of collective bargaining, every single one of them is going to lose their certifications. So the only way we can fight this is through our communities pushing back. There is no one else who can do it.
That's the same thing with the transportation union. I have a friend that works for the transportation. He drives the buses, and he was like, Christine, we don't have enough protection, enough PPE. We are literally out there being exposed day in and day out. And this was before they made the announcement that it was airborne. So our bus drivers are getting sick. And they're not allowed to organize. They cannot fight against the union. They can't strike. They need us to speak on their behalf.
It's just a terrible situation. And unfortunately, like a lot of places in Georgia open up and then they have like incidents where people end up getting the virus, and then it's like, oh, we should actually shut down. At some point, you should already have this knowledge like on deck. You're running as an independent. The Democratic Party, like especially in Florida, all across the country, but especially in Florida, really like tries to kneecap you if you run against an incumbent.
Yes.
Jen Perelman had to, and I know y'all are friends, y'all are buds. She had to jump over like a dozen different hurdles. When you talk to her, do you feel like, wow, I was a lot better off running as an independent, or do you feel like, oh, next time maybe I'll switch and try to do what she did? How do you feel about that situation?
So,
I'll tell the story. When I originally registered to run, I registered as a Democrat, and I registered to run 2 years ago. So when I started on this journey, I got the pushback immediately, and it was the deadline. It was the week before you qualify to be on the ballot. That was my last chance to change out of being a Democrat and run as a non-party if I wanted to. And it's that week I'm thinking about it. And literally, I spoke to a friend of mine said, Christine, stop waiting around for someone else to open the door for you. You are a person that makes your own opportunities. I've seen you do it. Run as a non-party affiliate. You got this. And it was like the last bit of confidence that I needed. And right at the last minute, I switched and I said, I'm going to do non-party. Because if the Democratic Party wants to fight so hard against people that show interest in carrying the torch, let's be honest, a lot of these people have been in office for God knows how long. They want to literally die in that seat. If someone else shows the interest and the desire to fight for their community, you should be willing and open to grooming that person and putting your name behind them, giving them a chance. But they didn't do that. They refused to do that. I emailed, I called, I literally showed up at offices and they still didn't give me a chance. So guess what? I'm running as a non-party. And you know why? This is the best time for anyone to say, listen, forget division. I want to unify our community. I want to be a voice for everyone. It's not just about being a Democrat or a Republican. We are people first. And that is what I represent. I represent the people first. There are so many people that are like, you know what? That is so brave. I am so excited that you ran as a non-party affiliate. You make me feel like I don't just have to choose a color. I can choose a person. And that is why I'm a non-party affiliate.
All right. So as me and Rachel, we've both done like organizing for elections, and when we do stuff with Democrats, it's always about the van access. It's like, well, they do have like a large database. So people who sometimes to varying degrees get along or don't get along with the party, they say, all right, I will grit my teeth and do this because I want access to the database. So Christine, you've been running. How have you been reaching the individuals in your district without the database that they're very proud of?
It's so funny that you asked, because someone the other day said, this was in a private meeting. They were like, we didn't expect this girl to get this far. We don't know how she's done it or how she's reached out to so many people. Well, guess what? I go door to door.
So you've been canvassing and stuff, or have you been?
So I go directly to the supervisor of elections. They have all the entire database. Granted, Van has already separated it by, who are your super voters, or how many voters live in this household. Yeah, it's super organized. Yes, I have to do it old school. Yes, I have to go in and organize my own data and break down, okay, this person voted this many times. I literally had to do everything myself, just breaking it down. And then I pass it on to my field director, and my field director is game. He's like, we don't need to pay all this extra money for all this other stuff. We got this. we're going to handle this, and we're going to knock on every single door until election day.
Who are the people in your neighborhood and community that when you ran for office, you reached out to and said, hey, I'm going on this mission. Like, come knock doors for me, come make calls. Kennedy, I know you talked to Nancy Larson, and both of us were on that call. And she said, like, you coming from grassroots, like the number one thing I needed was just an inner circle of people who knew me from my neighborhood and wanted to help me. So who are the people that you reached out to when you decided to make this official?
Well, the first people that I reached out to is my family. I am Haitian. There's so many of us. When I tell you there's so many of us, I mean, I've got like 10 to 15 aunts and uncles. I've got maybe 40 or so cousins. All I had to do was get in the group chat and say, listen, fam, I'm running for Congress. And most of my family lives in the district. So they were like, we got you. And then I reached out to my church. I was the youth director at my church for 6 years. I had all the youth the school itself had 400 kids in it. I had so many youth that I literally raised, right? So I was like, listen, y'all own me. Okay, remember that one time that I picked you up and your mom didn't know you were out? Yeah, you own me.
This is funny. Kennedy, you were a youth leader at your religious institution. Does anybody owe you over there?
I don't think it. I mean, well, so the problem with and this isn't an entire indictment because of course I am still a relatively religious / spiritual person, but the problem with religious institutions is once you defy them, they tend to cut you off of all of that access to things, and that's part of how they operate in a kind of ugly way sometimes. And again, this isn't to condemn all of it, but let's just be real. A lot of churches not great. Yeah.
So listen, you've got like this organization, it's kind of ripping and rolling. What are the things that you need now? Your election's November.
Money.
It's right there with I love it's so funny. We have other guests. Kennedy, you can attest to this, and Rachel, you can too. We have guests and we have to like talk them into doing the poll. Like we had Mike Vick, and we showed the donation page, and he started commentating on like the picture that was in the background of the page. It was like, no, Mike, we're trying to get you to talk about the donations. So Christine, can you talk about the money part of the money operation?
Oh yeah, listen. Yesterday and today I sent out an email to all of my donors. They get a sneak peek at my campaign video, which is being released tomorrow. And as I'm making the list, it's never ending. We have over 430 individual donors. And I know that may not sound a lot for some people, but for me, I'm like, 430 people believe in this campaign. My opponent probably has like maybe 3 individual donors. The rest are corporations. Yeah. So we are completely funded by the people. That is how we are getting by. That is how we're doing this. The other day on Facebook, somebody accused me of being funded by Republicans. Oh, she's like Kanye West. She's funded by Republicans just to get the votes away from the Democrats. I was like, no, I'm not like Kanye West, and I don't have Republican money. But if they want to donate, this is the link. Can they put the money right there?
Yeah, whoever. We'll take it.
I'm not a Republican, but $5 is $5.
All right. So yeah, all right. Well, where do they need to go? Where do people who are watching this? They're like, hey, I want to get on board for this thing. I want to see that exclusive video that's dropping tomorrow, apparently. Where do they
donate today? You get to see the video right now. I'm gonna have my assistant send it.
Okay, where do they go to do that?
Ooh.
ChristineForCongress.org. ChristineForCongress.org.
All right, I love that. So listen, what we're gonna do, we're gonna take a 30-second break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk a little about state politics, and we'll also talk about maybe some of this debate stuff if nobody gets a headache and just decides that they don't want to talk about it at all. We'll figure it out. We'll come right back. Everybody take a breath. 30 seconds. What's up, everybody? That wasn't very long. That's just literally just for our video editor. They know, all right, this is probably time for when we make these segments. They'll have it nice and easy. Christine, welcome back. It's always good to hang out with you yet again. It's been a long 30 seconds, but we both made it to the other side. You've been a progressive in the state of Florida. Rachel, you're a progressive in the state of Georgia. How has that been? Just being in, I consider Florida kind of a red state.
It's so sad because I didn't, maybe I was just blind. I didn't see it as a red state until now. I'm starting to see that a lot of people really do think a certain way. Now I do understand it being a little bit of a red state because there's a lot of churches in Florida, and people are normally Republican because of abortion, which is very sad. But I still thought that the Democrats dominated, but I am actually very nervous for November. I don't know. He has way too much support in Florida, and it's shocking. And like I said, maybe I just had blinders on. Maybe it's because all the people in my circle are Democrats. Maybe I've just never noticed that there were so many Republicans in the state, but it is really bad.
You know what else might have colored your perspective of the state? And I don't know whether that's recent or going back years. You've been knocking doors indiscriminately in your district. So in some ways, you probably have a much better view of the complete politics of your district, because like, even if your district was like 70% Democratic, and that would be like a hugely Democratic district, right? Because like +5 is like considered like a safe Democratic district. You would run into like a lot of conservatives just going back and forth around town. So do you feel like that's given you a better understanding of your district's politics?
You're absolutely right. I was a few days ago, I was knocking doors in one area. Everyone's like, oh, great. I love what you're about. I love this. I went one street over, Trump, 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 Trump. I was like, oh my gosh, literally from one street to the next. I knock on this lady's door. She's got an oxygen mask on. What do you want? I said, well, I'm running for Congress. My name is Christine Olivo. I'm a non-party affiliate. Oh, okay. You got my vote then. You got my vote. I don't like that hat lady. I said, okay, great. Awesome. That's all it took. And she goes, yeah. And the fact that you actually showed up here. I ain't never seen anyone around here in a long time. I said, wonderful. Okay, I'm going to go now. She goes, I'm Republican, by the way. I said, I know. Yeah. I know. Okay.
Listen, that's a great way to go around the conversation. Like, no policy discussion. It's fine. Okay.
I'm not the Democrat, and I'm not the existent Republican that you probably also hate.
Yeah.
Is there an actual Republican candidate, or do they just not bother?
There is. The
way you said that.
We have a Miss Stanton King in Atlanta, so I make that exact same face. Yeah. How is that person? We don't need to give them any publicity, but what are they like?
Okay, so I like to tell people, just because someone looks like you doesn't mean they're looking out for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So I see color as flavors. So, she may be chocolate, right? But she not running for the chocolates. Okay. She's not on our side. She's not. You can just tell by things, when a candidate that's running in a district where we suffer from police brutality, we suffer from immigration, heavily suffer from, fighting for TPS, for you to put things up like Jacob Blake deserved to get shot, you walk away from the cops, that's what you get. And for you to post pictures, or for your team to post pictures of ICE arresting Dora the Explorer, these things for me, I'm like, what? I was like, girl. So all I'm saying is, not everyone that looks like you is looking out for you.
Yo. Okay? I thought the one that we had
I
in
just want
Atlanta
to
was
say, I
weird.
think I just want to say, white people, we already know this.
We're late
Yo,
to the game.
yo, oh my god, no,
That's
man.
true. I mean,
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's a big night.
Mm.
The debate is happening. Yeah, Leslie, welcome to Florida. Absolutely. The debate is happening tonight. I know you've been waving that flag for the vice president, trying to get him in there. So let me ask you this. Joe Biden, for better or for worse,
Mhm.
and I've sometimes defended him on some of these things, he's not always eloquent. Sometimes he very often says things that he does not mean. He often says things that he exactly does mean, and that also gets him in trouble sometimes. But how do you feel, just from a game perspective, of his performance in the debate with Trump? He did very well in 2012, but that was also like a while ago. I feel like we've got the heavyweight fighter, and
His
they're like
brain was
43, and it's like, can they still punch? Are they still game for this? How do you feel about Joe going into this debate?
I'm going to be very honest. I think that it doesn't matter how Joe does. Everything in life that I've realized, it's all about the narrative, how people can spin it. And I think that Donald Trump's team, they are very good at spinning stories. So Joe Biden can go in and he can knock it out the park. But the Trump team can take certain things and spin it so well and so fast. So really what we need to look at Joe Biden's team. How can they amplify his performance after the fact? How can they push the narrative in their favor? That's what we need to look at. He can't make any mistakes tonight, period, because it's not like he's in for a landslide. They're neck and neck. So he has got to perform at his best. But like I said, at the end of the day, it's not about his performance. It's how well can his team make him look better than he looks tonight.
I love to hear someone in Florida say that it's neck and neck and not a landslide, because you're in it. You're in the place where this election is going to be decided. And like, yeah, I feel like a lot of overly optimistic liberals on Twitter right now are acting like it's a landslide victory. And I think we should all be very nervous. And I don't think Biden's team has proven himself so far.
No, they haven't. And it's sad. I wish before running for office, I think I just wanted to go in and just take over the DNC. Come on, like your whole strategy is going after Republicans to turn out the Republican vote. You should be going after progressives to turn out the progressive vote. Their focus is all wrong. You even saw in the convention having all these Republicans speak or saying, oh, this Republican is now for Biden. Their entire strategy is turning over the Republican vote. We need you to focus on the progressives. Progressives will vote, they will fight, they will knock on doors, they will do all of that. But when you turn your back on ideas like Medicare for all, and when you don't start pushing the Green New Deal and start talking about things that we really care about, then we actually have to think twice before going to vote on November 3rd.
Yeah, I've done interviews and talked about, like, it's not in Black communities, it's not Biden versus Trump, because most Black people are leaning towards Biden, but it's really Biden versus Taco Bell. Like, you can stay home, especially if you are in one of these places where you got to be in line for like 2 hours to go and vote for somebody. Like, my own personal story was, it wasn't my first time voting, but like, I went out for Obama and it was raining. And so I had that umbrella and I got up at like 9, not specifically because I was just so excited to vote for, but I go and vote. So, but there were so many other people that got up early and they were excited to go and vote for the first Black president, that the line was a 3-hour line and it was raining. But I waited in line for 3 hours. If this election happens and I'm there in line and the line is 3 hours, I don't know if I'm going to wait in line. I might be like, Taco Bell's calling me, I got to go home. I don't know.
And
What?
also, how many people have masks on in the line?
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna be seriously, when I go to vote, and
You're
y'all,
immunocompromised.
anybody, I'm immunocompromised. This is very serious for me. Also, everybody who knows anything about my story from the last couple of months knows that I have not gotten my mail ballot. They've sent me lots of mail telling me that I should have my mail-in ballot, but they keep not sending me a mail-in ballot. So I do not have one. So I'm considering, okay, so do I go to the polls because they're not sending me a ballot? And like I say, if I see a line at the polls and half the people don't have masks, I'm not voting. Y'all can get screwed. Like, I'm sorry.
One of the
you can also drop off your you didn't get the ballot yet, but here you can bring your vote by mail ballot in and drop it off in a drop box.
That's right. But one of the things that is good though, like this primary election happened, and I didn't go to vote for Bernie Sanders because Bernie was like had already dropped out and was getting blown out. I went to vote for my state Senate seat, and my guy didn't win, but still, that was the reason why I went to the poll. So it's so funny that you can go on Facebook and like a 55-year-old white lady can yell at you for spoiling Miss Wilson, and not think about there are people who are in the district that might not necessarily want to stand in line for Joe Biden for an hour and a half, but might stand in line to vote for you for an hour and a half. And if Biden is there on the ticket as well, incidentally, then, +1 for him. So you have kind of a role in voter outreach in a very critical part. Like that's the part of Florida that if a Democrat wins, will need a heavy turnout.
Exactly. And that's what I mean. They should have partnered up with candidates and helped to support and fund them, because everyone that's showing up to vote for these down ballot candidates are also going to vote for the president. They should have invested money into helping these candidates really push their campaign. You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
let me
here in my state, they forced the progressives off the ballot.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's really like the crux of it, right? Is that like the primary mechanism of the DNC at this point is to prevent progressives from gaining power. It's not about actually winning elections, and it hasn't been in a while. It is about keeping us out.
So, Christine, let me ask you this. Leslie's also saying this. What is the general mood of Florida Democrats about the general election? Do y'all feel like it's going the right way? Or do you feel like you need a lot more over the next month to bring this out?
We need a Hail Mary. That's what we need. That's why I tell everybody, we need a Hail Mary. Or really, it's that bad? No, I'm telling you right now, we need a Hail Mary, because there's a lot of people that don't want to vote at all. At all. And it's a lot to do with a lot of these protests that are going on, and a lot of people that are leading the protests are just like, people don't just deserve our votes. They need to earn it, and they have not earned it. So let's not give it to them. Let's not just make them scare us because of Trump in order to vote. And I just tell everyone, oh my gosh, like we need a Hail Mary, that last pass. Like,
I mean, yeah, like I have very actively voted in every single election, every single special election, every single referendum up until this election. And this is the first one since I turned 18 that I'm not sure, like, I want to do it at all, Like, I'll probably go. But again, like, if the line's too long, I might just go to Taco Bell. And this is the first time in my life, in my entire life, where I felt this just uncommitted to it. I'm just like, I cannot get excited about this,
And this is statistically, if you believe in polling, and Rachel, you're very skeptical of polling, and I'm very not.
Nah, that's not true.
No,
polling is entirely as useful as the sampling mechanism.
Rachel's in the middle. She thinks the medium.
I understand how surveys work because I've done them. Anyway, go.
Well, statistically, Georgia's, according to the numbers, a swing state, although it doesn't feel that way. But like it's apparently neck and neck. And you'd think there'd be more like excitement among people that live here, and there's kind of not.
No.
But listen, we're going to take another break, and when we come back, I want to talk about your favorite and least favorite political figures in your state. And we'll also just talk a little nonsense to fill up like a few minutes, just about what else is going on in your life away from the campaign trail. So we'll do it. We'll come back. We'll see you. So we did that interview with the Trillbillies like 2 weeks ago, and that was very dope as a Trillbillies fan to actually like do the episode with them. And one of the things that we talked about was who's the supervillain of your state's politics. And you know, them being from Kentucky, they had one of the obvious answers of Mitch. So I wanted to ask you, Christine, while you were here, because Florida's next door. When we're thinking of Florida politics and like who's the worst person, we think a lot of like Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio. Although like Jeb's not even in office anymore, I just feel like his spirit hovers over lingering. The state. Exactly. So I wanted to ask you, as somebody who lives there, who, and maybe it's not even a politician, maybe it's like some guy with a monocle, one of them little glass things over his eye, with a little. Yeah, exactly. With a little tuxedo and a cane. Who's the worst political figure in the state of Florida?
Okay, the worst political figure. There's so many. I'm trying to pick one. Right now, honestly, on the top of my list is DeSantis. Like for me, my brother calls him Desanti, which you know, we're Haitian, so it means you stink. but yeah, like he's terrible. He's almost just like, for me, just pointless to even have him. After that, then I would say Marco Rubio and Rick Scott, for the simple fact that Marco Rubio is non-existent, right? He carries so much power, but he's absolutely nowhere to be found. And the only time you find him is when it's time to vote against something that we all need. And then Rick Scott, he's just
Lord Voldemort. Yeah. Every time I see him, I feel like he's gonna go after Harry Potter, stop what he's doing, and try to bring Harry Potter. Leslie, I wish I had known that you were here. We would have gotten y'all for some Florida chat. But her husband is Haitian. So yeah, and we want to do like an episode about Haitian history. So you might want to slide in and come do that with us.
I have a little children's book that I read. I actually just started doing it this year, but I'm gonna make it a yearly thing, where I read the story of Haiti in a children's book, and it's so powerful, and the kids and the adults love it. I do it on Facebook Live, but can I read my book?
Wait, when is this? Yes, do you have it on you? Yeah, when is that?
I do have it on me.
Okay. Yeah, if you've got it on you, you should show us.
Do it.
Yeah, you should show it.
Yeah.
At least show it to us.
Okay,
but also we should do Haitian history.
1 second, I got it.
Awesome.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, fabulous. We can talk about stuff for like a minute. It's fine. We've done this before.
We have no guests for 30 seconds. The show has imploded. We're over.
Oh no. What we should do is we should just start seeding a rumor now that actually the reason we can't come up with anything to talk about is because secretly behind the scenes we're all feuding and haven't spoken in weeks.
Yeah, that sounds great. Show us Haiti, the first Black Republic. I love it. Leslie, let's do. I don't know what Christine. Unfortunately, we don't know Christine's schedule. But if she's here Thursday, if you come right back, we'll talk about Haiti.
It's really nice, and it's. I mean, it talks about everything. It's so beautiful.
Oh, that's dope.
That's
okay,
awesome.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And you're reading that on Facebook once in a while.
I did it for Haitian Flag Day, which is once a year. So. You mean, if you want me to come back on, I'd love to, and we can read it.
Literally, should come back on Thursday, and we'll maybe do some fundraising while we're here and we're doing all this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that sounds super dope. This is live.
Well,
This is what
have
live
your people
television
call
is
my
like.
people.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. The people will call the people. Listen, we've done like a whole hour. Before we wrap up, what are you watching? What are you watching on TV when you're not knocking on doors?
Ooh, okay, so like this is a small guilty pleasure of mine, but I watch Knock Down the House.
Oh, well,
Oh,
Knock Down the House was like, no, that was a very good like documentary. I like imagining you watching it and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna do
yeah, and I also watch Spider-Man Into the Spideyverse.
love that.
Only because my son is obsessed with Miles Morales and but honestly, I love it. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's really awesome. It's a cool animated version of Spider-Man, Miles Morales. You know, he's Black and Puerto Rican. My husband's Puerto Rican. So my son feels like this is him, right? But at the very end, it's the best, right? Miles Morales gets the courage to go and finally embrace his role as Spider-Man. And I just feel like that's me on election day. Like, bam, here I am.
That movie has like some of the dopest animation. I've never seen like an animated movie that was like so colorful and creative.
It's
Um,
amazing.
Not just that, they did this really incredible thing with the frame rate for him too, where like in the early scenes, Miles is at a different frame rate from everything else in the movie, and it like slowly catches up over time to the frame rate of the rest of the movie to represent him getting
Wow.
like his footing
Like,
and like being sure of himself.
I didn't even know that, but it makes sense. I love that. It's a great
oh,
movie.
I love Spider-Verse. You've got two kids. Both of them should be into that movie, actually.
So the 4-year-old is done with Spider-Man because the 2-year-old has exhausted it. And I'm not telling, I'm telling the truth. We're up till 3 a.m. watching repeat. It's an obsession. The 4-year-old's done. He's like, I don't want to hear another word about Spider-Man.
That's so funny. Rachel, has your kid run anything into the ground besides Minecraft?
So she like goes through phases, but Minecraft is definitely the one that she is the most obsessed with and has been for a while. I think before that, she was really into this YouTube series. It was this like woman named Emily who was talking about reptiles. So
that's interesting.
My kid is just as weird as I am.
How much Minecraft? What is she doing in Minecraft? She's just walking around vibing, or is she building things now? Like
all of the above. Honestly,
Let
she
me
likes to do little vignettes and like have little like families and try and like The Sims it kind of. I should get her The Sims now that I think about it. She likes to do that kind of thing with it, but then she also really likes building giant structures and like all of it. She watches Minecraft content. It's just all of it, a whole thing.
Right. I gotta jump in because Ren is our editor, also my housemate. Okay, and plays Minecraft with Rachel's daughter. Let me tell y'all a story, a Minecraft story about Rachel's daughter from Ren's perspective. All right, so Ren jumps on Minecraft, and Ellie just kills Ren over and over and over again for like an hour. And then afterwards, this is one of the first times this happened. I don't even know if you know that this is the whole story, Rachel, but this is Ellie came to you because then Ren told me about this later and goes, Ren is the best. I want to play with Ren again after doing nothing but just kill Ren for an hour.
This is literally these. I'm like, oh, okay. Sounds like my kid sucks to play with it. No, I mean, the thing is, she's 5. And 5-year-olds are psychopaths. And you kind of have to just learn to tell them not to be psychopaths, which is maybe something that you're not used to if you haven't dealt with a 5-year-old.
Have you thought about this? If you don't tell them anything and you just let them run wild, maybe she can become president one day.
Good point. I should be encouraging this baby. No, I mean, we've been working on it. She's been learning a lot about playing games with people during lockdown because it is about her only outlet anymore. But I mean, it's a struggle, it's parenting. And I think kind of in a way that is a very good metaphor for, Christine, what I think you're trying to do for your district and what, all of us here are kind of trying to do for the country. It's not one moment in time where you are shaping this person. You know, it is a series of moments,
Yes.
and it's a series of choices, and it is, you know, this long, involved process that we have to approach with empathy and kindness and forgiveness.
Yeah.
And that's extremely difficult, and it's constant, and it's exhausting, and there's literally no other way to do it.
Yeah.
I
Gotta
thought
do the
I
work.
had a,
Mhm.
yeah, I thought I had a good segue. That was a lot better than mine. That was excellent.
Wow.
So with that said, we can all use our excess energies to hit those phones and maybe throw $5 or $10 towards Christine. It's christineforcongress.org. Didn't
Yes.
forget it. And Christine, you got to come back, like, literally. I don't know if this might be the fastest turnaround we ever had with a guest, but like, come around later this week.
Yeah,
and we'll do some other stuff.
I'm going to immediately, after this is over, solicit you to come hang out for a little bit on a telethon I'm hosting Friday, is what probably is going to happen.
Yeah. We've got all kinds of things happening. So we'll figure it out. We'll talk to you, and hopefully we'll see you like really soon.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Don't forget christineforcongress.org. Let's win this thing.
Yeah, we'll put that in our notes, and it's going down. Thank you very much for taking an hour and stopping by. It was really a pleasure for us. And hopefully your folks in your district can watch this and get to pushing you across the finish line this year. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you at home for watching. You know, it's been very good. It's been very real. We're going to be back on later tonight to talk about the debate. That's going to be fun. So yeah, show up and we'll do that. Kennedy.
Yeah,
it's
starting at 10 Eastern. I'm going to just plug that real quick. Starting at 10 Eastern, we're going to have Griff Shop. We're going to have Kennedy from Bad Praxis, the better Kennedy, the one that's, you know, cooler than me. We're going to have some other cool people. Rachel's going to be there. I'm going to be there. We're just going to be crying and sobbing as this debate goes on, probably. I don't know. But do turn out 10 Eastern.
We'll see you later.
I would imagine for this one, I will be openly on drugs because no way am I walking this over. Like, I get one thing out of this election, and it is the entertainment I derive from this evening. And that's it. That's the only thing I'm getting out of this. So this is my moment. Like,
we've got
I've been ready.
We'll see y'all. We'll see y'all later tonight. My Lord. All right. Bye, y'all.